Chapter 81. Back to Wano. Alas, the weather cleared and the ringing stopped as the wind settled down. A bright light filled the room. "Now, brat," the geezer yelled as I nodded. Instantly, my palms started to glow red as my fruit power came into being. Step step step. I walked to the boiling hot blades that had just recently been molded into shape. I felt that energy rippling out, enough to kill low Yonko commanders. FWOOOO. I tried to add my powers into the blade so that I could bring it out to its fullest potential and so that I could freely mold it as I wish. The blade groaned as fruit energy seemed into the metal, refusing to go in. Denying me, I thought as the sword pushed back. BOOOOM. Instantly my haki burst out of my body as it roared in fury, wholly pushing down on the newly crafted blades as they clashed in dominance. The smithy was blown up as the nearby area was reduced to dust. The old man retreated into the crowd as I continued to pour in my haki to control the blade. Katsuyoshi-san, what is Damien Dono doing? Yasue asked as he saw the carnage. From their point of view, they saw an exploding red column of energy as it pierced the clouds above, ripping them apart. The geezer gulped as he was too exhausted to reply. Wahahaha. Sugoi. Damien, that guy is forcing his will on that weapon. Odin yelled as his sword shook. Toki nodded as her weapon was doing the same. You will bow down. My haki rained down on the stubborn blade as it slowly reined in its hostility, and began to accept my power. FWOOOO. The energy screeching out calmed down as it grew quieter and quieter. Vwoo. My crushing fruit power was finally allowed to flow into the weapon as it accepted it. The shining blades made of heavenly rocks glowed red as they were mixed in with my powers, growing even more powerful. With this energy, I will be able to turn the weapon into a hammer or another weapon if I so wished without sacrificing any power. And finally, boom! A grand blast of energy erupted as the blade fully converged with my powers and started to rise in the air. In the eyes of the citizens of Wano, they saw a thick column of crimson energy blasting in the air as it was visible from the entire nation. It lasted for a few minutes before dying down. The weapon finally stopped releasing its energy as it finished declaring its birth. FWOOO. The air was cut apart as the crimson blades slowly floated with the weapon into my grasp. I felt the same feeling as I did with Yuru. Are you my wielder? I heard a voice. Indeed, come to my side and I will show your power to the world. And so it did. Grab. I felt the thick wooden handle made of the strongest of wood. Vwoo asterisk. I traced my finger along the body as the blade hummed in response. Very good, I said as I felt the weapon. You will be, Yushi, meaning, particle, as you will crush everything in your path to dust. The weapon pulsed with warmth as it accepted the name, glowing bright. Damien Dono, that weepo. He was interrupted. Oh, Damien, is that a Seijo o Wazamano? Odin yelled as he jumped over Yasue and ran towards me. I looked at Katsuyoshi. Old man, this is what you made, don't blink now. His eyes were glued to me as I walked away from the crowd. Vwoo. I grabbed Yushi's handle with my left hand as I lifted it vertically over my left shoulder. The wind howled as the two clawed blades started to boil in power and energy as a coat of Ryu wrapped around it. I slashed down with decent strength and allowed the blade to do the rest. FWOOOO. Vwoo. The air was shredded apart as a large crimson arc of energy was blasted forth with endless momentum, raging and ripping its way to the mountains far away. The ground cracked as a ravine was created under the attack. Endless energy was released as time seemed to slow down. Boom! A grand explosion echoed through the entirety of Hakumai as the spectators gasped in shock. Mom, the mountain. Amazing. Sugoi. Crash. Rumble. What followed was a mind-numbing explosion as everyone saw a 600-meter-tall mountain was crushed perfectly in half as the two pieces started to shake and fall upon each other. BOOOOM. That wasn't it. The slash of the weapon did not halt, it kept raging on as it moved forth to the next target. 1. 0.3, 0.5, 0.7. 7 mountains, all cut in half, and an earthquake seemed to shake Wano from the falling massive blocks of earth. What came next was even crazier. The giant blocks of debris and rocks that were tumbling in started to glow red as they suddenly were filled with lines forming countless cubes. The cubes glowed crimson and suddenly disappeared from the naked eye as they reduced to micrometers in size. The only thing remaining was a large patch of dirt as an entire range of mountains was obliterated. Dash 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 dash. The ruckus finally calmed down as the crowds cleared. Ahem, sorry for destroying your mountains, Yasui-san. I may have gotten a bit carried away, I said as I rubbed my nose. Toki giggled while Odin laughed with vigor. No, no, Damien Dono, a supreme-grade weapon deserves this much. He responded. The geezer then roared out. KO 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 KO, finally I have done it. I have fulfilled my ambition and can finally die without reg. Katsuyoshi was declaring his heart as he suddenly fell to the ground. Dead. The divine blacksmith, Katsuyoshi has passed away at the age of 182 after creating a Seijo o Wazamano. Dash 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 dash. The funeral for Katsuyoshi was held right away, yet there were no tears. It would be a disgrace to weep for a man who passed away without regrets. A man who held on to his life for decades just to create a supreme blade. He was to be buried alongside Ryuma in Ringo as one of Wano's greatest heroes. Dash dash dash. Odin, come with me to the flower capital, I will help you clear your name. Plus, I'm sure the Shogun would like to know just what happened with the sword birth. I told him. He made a yuck face as his retainers sighed. Damien Dono, I hope the Shogun listens to what you have to say. You can use both my and Ushimaru Dono's name, Yasue said with a smile. I nodded. I'm sure we'll meet again, Yasue-san. We bid farewell and traveled back to the flower capital. Dash 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 dash. Along the way back, Odin kept barraging me with requests, even to the point of going on his knees to take him with me. I said no as he wasn't the kind to listen to anyone and he would not run well with my plans, the current ones, anyway. Dash 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 dash. Shogun's estate. Half a day later, Sukiyaki sat before us. Toki to my right and Odin and his two retainers to the side. Odin was grinning as he saw the scowl on his father. Damien Dono, welcome back, he said with a small smile. I nodded as Toki smiled back. Before I talk about the elephant in the room, may I know if those unusual events all over Wano were caused by you? He asked. I smirked. That is correct. The old man Shimotsuki Katsuyoshi crafted a supreme-grade weapon for me. It caused some ruckus, nothing too much. I explained offhandedly. He nodded. Right, you had a supreme-grade weapon made. Quote. He blinked. Damien Dono, did you say, supreme-grade? He asked with a gulp. I nodded. He blinked. Nani. Dash 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 dash. Skipping the shocked expression in the long explanation, we got to the next point. May I know what Odin is doing here? He asked me without even looking at his son. Odin chuckled. What's this? Lord Shogun won't even regard his own blood. Wahaha. Sukiyaki frowned. He didn't enjoy Odin's company. Sukiyaki-san, I want you to give this idiot another chance. Just a few days ago, Odin and I discovered the remnants of the Korizumi clan as they were planning a takeover of Wano, I said nonchalantly. Quote. Nani. Dash 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 dash. Skipping the shocked expression and the long explanation, we got to the next point. So, you're telling me that this foolish boy here has the legendary sense that Lord Ryuma had? The ability to listen to the voice of all? He asked, astonished. I nodded. He may be an idiot but he deserves another chance for his work. I have a suggestion. I offered. Sukiyaki gestured to elaborate. Odin is rash, hard-headed and self-willed. He will never grow in this mellow capital. I suggest you send him to Curry to bring under his power. Your way of ruling is very different from him, it's best he learns his own way in some places unpleasant as Curry. The shogun raised an eye but shook his head. Curry, I don't know if he can do it. He will probably mess everything up and bring me endless trouble. Odin was annoyed. Lord Shogun, the flower capital is too restrictive, I will just take all the nobles' wives and do it myself if you don't send me to Curry. Sukiyaki was seething with anger by the lack of respect. Fine, Odin. As the shogun of Wano, I will send you to Curry to reform the lands and fix all the wrongs. I don't want any of the thugs and the criminals remaining before you ever think to return here again. Sukiyaki declared, to which Odin laughed in triumph. Dash 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 dash. Whitebeard is due to arrive in Wano in around a decade, in 1494. This should give Odin more than enough time to take over Wano and to start bettering the current forces available. With his going to adventure, Wano will continue to blossom until Kaido's movement. Once Odin returns in 1499 with the thoughts to open Wano, I will begin my plans and recruit Wano as a whole. Dash 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 dash. Later that night, we plan to leave Wano in 2 or so weeks, sailing back to Mortem Island. I want to go to the last part of Wano I had yet to venture to with Toki, Kiri and Udon. They should be quite scenic before Kaido's rule and factories. Dash 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 dash. It was now nighttime, around 11 o'clock. We had returned to our guest room as the people at Wano had fallen to sleep. I guess the samurai liked to sleep early as I enjoyed the peace and tranquility. I look to the far back of the large room and see the balcony doors open. Walking towards it, I see Toki standing in the gentle wind and under the moonlight, her light green hair drifting. Have you enjoyed yourself here so far, Toki? I ask her as I stand beside her. She had been feasting on Leviathan Class C kings and her body was going through huge growth spurts. She had gone from 6 feet to 8 feet 7. Her body grew proportionately. I hope the day Wano can open its borders will be soon, she said softly. There was some hesitation in her voice. I guess jumping through decades and even centuries and returning to ruined lands can take a toll on one's enthusiasm. She then leaned to the side as her head was now resting on my shoulder as we stood side by side under the night sky. I felt something stir inside as I saw the green-haired girl lean on me. Don't worry so much. Odin will bring Wano together. He may be a fool but with the mind of a conqueror and the ability to hear the voice, he will become quite big. And when Wano is ready to open itself and protect itself from the outer threats, that is when I will ensure its return from isolation, I told her as she hummed. She then closed her eyes as her face widened into a soft smile. Damien-san, thank you for everything you have done for my home. The people may not know it but I'm sure they are thankful with all their hearts. Ryuma-sama protected Wano centuries ago and you will free it soon. Toki seemed to have fallen asleep as some time passed while we stood together. I then made a rather impulsive choice. The air shifted as I disappeared. Toki woke up from her resting state as she looked around in confusion. She was about to call out my name but suddenly. Rap. She yelped like a cat who had her tail stepped on. I had suddenly wrapped my arms around her from behind as she was taken by surprise as her body awkwardly shifting in my grasp. Damien-san. She started to fuse out as her face started to glow red in embarrassment. I rested my chin on her head and smelled the pleasant smell of her hair as I pressed my arms around her. Do you feel uncomfortable? I asked her. She eventually returned from her shock and heard my words. I saw her return from her momentarily surprise as she calmed down. Her slightly embarrassed face turned into a smile as she closed her eyes and melted into my embrace. No, I feel quite safe and warm, she whispered. We stayed in this position for 5 minutes as Toki remained silent, gracefully staring at the flower capital without a hint of her earlier hesitation. Damien-san, she muttered. Her tone grew lonesome. When I first used my fruit power and jumped to a time of unfamiliarity, I felt so out of place. I felt like a cheat. Someone who ran away and left behind everything. I didn't know where I was, I didn't know who I was, I didn't even know if I was still myself. She went on, I felt so alone, so empty. My family was long gone, my hopes and dreams had washed away in the river of time. I tried to stay positive. The only thing holding me sane was that cube given to me by my savior and my desire to return to my home. A tear went down her face, but even that, over 800 years worth of jumps and skips, I had begun to lose hope. But then I was suddenly pulled away by a greater power. Her lonely expression changed to joy. And then I met you. You were the key to both of the locks in my heart. The Savior's relic was meant for you, and you were also the one who helped me fulfill my lifelong dream to return to Wano, to my home. She went silent for a bit as I waited patiently. I don't know why, but over the handful of months I had known you, I started to feel where I truly belonged. Even though that brutal training and difficult routine, I still felt more free than I had for over 800 years. And when you returned with Aurora-san, I felt some pain in my heart. I didn't know it then, but I do now. Toki then looked up to my face and lost her shyness, though some redness remained on her fair face. Her green eyes shined with resolve. Damien-san, I don't think I can ever live without you, so please take me wherever you go. My mind drifted elsewhere as I saw her eyes of affections and slight nervousness. I recall my mother's word on that terrible day. Quote question mark question mark question mark question mark quote. I guess the only difference now is that I can gain the strength I lacked before to protect the ones I loved. I originally ignored the waves in my heart from what happened in the past and the tragedies that befell my family, but no longer. From now on, I won't let my past hold me down. I may not be able to change what happened then, but I can surely ensure it never repeats again. Ding. Your Conqueror's Hockey Mastery has been upgraded to High Advanced level. Congratulations. I ignored the notification as I looked back into the burning eyes of the girl in my arms. I saw her resolution as I gave her a teasing smirk. Toki, once I answer your question, you will be stuck with me till the end of time. Her eyes widened as she replied with endless joy. Then it's good that I have the power of time on my side. She was giving me her biggest smile as I felt the love in her voice. I gently raised her chin with my right index finger as she followed my guidance. I slowly moved my head forwards as she subconsciously started to tiptoe to meet my advance. And under the bright rain of moonlight, I gently placed my lips on hers. She wrapped both her hands around my neck to keep herself stable as my left hand grabbed her by the waist and the right one played with her long hair. I tasted the sweet cherry flavor of her lips as I continued the kiss as she slowly and meekly responded to my attacks. Toki gasped for breath as she retreated after a few minutes passed. Her face was now slightly flushed as her eyes gazed at me with a mix of shyness, affection, joy and some lust. Kya. She yelped as I picked her up in a princess carry and started to leave the balcony area and into the dimly lit room. Damien-san, are we going to? Her voice grew quieter and quieter as the last part was lost as she whispered like a mouse. I looked at her burning face and couldn't help but tease her. Since you were so open with your love then, as a man, naturally I should be the one to take the next step. Alas, the remainder of the night was spent with great passion and fervor as the Damien went on for his first conquest. Author's Corner. His conqueror's hockey broke through as he let go of the last shackle of his past. Romance, what an annoying concept to write about. Which idiot came up with it? Chapter 82. This has no added detail on the plot of the story, so you can skip it entirely. It's a lemon chapter. Chapter 83. Damn, someone turn off the sun. Yawn. I open my eyes as I feel the heat from the annoying star. It's around 2 p.m., I conclude based on the height of the sun. I look to my right as I see Toki sleeping. Her arm was slung over my body as her face rested on my right chest. It suffices to say, we had a nice session last night. 7-ish hours of constant bed fight. If not for her time powers refueling her stamina, she would have been long out. Is this how it feels like to have someone to rely on? It feels different from how I saw my mother, but fulfilling all the same. I was playing with her long silky hair as I saw her scrunch up her eyebrows. Damien-san, good morning, she mutters as she slowly blinks awake. I smiled at the green-haired girl as I kissed her forehead as she recalled our little duel last night. You're awake. It's already past noon, I said as she nodded. HMPH, it is not my fault that you seem to have endless stamina, I did my best. She puffed her cheeks. I chuckled at her reaction as I squeezed her pout with my hand. Pou***. I brought her face near mine and kissed her as she was slowly lost in passion. An hour later. After a long, warm shower, the two of us leave the estate to go eat, walking to the capital's food zone. Toki was holding my right hand as she waved to the many people who came up to greet us. Wano was a country of joy as I could sense the emotions swarming around me. Chirp. A bird lands on my shoulder and gives a quick report. Grade 1, the fat purple boy alongside his associates was captured by the hedgehog man and executed soon. I nod at the words. Orochi was just a useless scum. Without the help of the clone user, he would be what he should be, trash. He has no strength and is just a pathetic rag that Kaido used to take over Wano and threw away. Toki-sama is smiling brighter today. Maybe something good happened. How beautiful. Damien-sama looks even more handsome now. You fool, did you forget that you're a man? Oh, that looks delicious. Toki's eyes gleamed as she looked to the far stall. She pulled me along as we enjoyed a sumptuous brunch. Later that day. Damien Dono, the word is spreading, the birth of a new supreme grade sword has reached the ends of Wano. Many of our people see you and the late Katsuyoshi-sama as heroes. Hyagoro claimed. I smirked, hero. I haven't done much. He shook his head. They say you possess the divine sense and weeded out the evil family. Yasue-san also said that you helped Odin come to the right path. You are also the partner of the Amatsuki descendant. Wano will surely remember your name. He exclaimed with admiration. I smiled in response. I guess my off-handed actions yielded better results than expected. The samurai revere strength and have a deep loyalty to the one they are indebted to. Quite nice indeed. We were chatting while Toki left for her training. A shadow flashed in front of me, a ninja. Damien-sama, the shogun is ready to meet you. I nodded and returned to the estate. Shogun's estate. Damien Dono, what do I owe this pleasure? Sukiyaki asked with a small smile. I nodded. I hope to start a trade with Wano. I didn't mince any words as the shogun thought for a second. Damien Dono, Wano respects you but we also have a long history of isolation from the world. He explained. I nodded, yes, but I only wish for a trade and no one else needs to know of it. I will of course offer proper resources in return. He thought once more and slowly nodded. What do you desire? Wano has a very large reserve of a metal I desire. It is called Seastone. I then release some of my fruit powers. It can effectively nullify these powers. I wish for the Wano craftsmen to start creating weapons made of this ore. Swords, bullets, knives, daggers, and even just pure sheets of the ore. I explained. He let me continue. As for the price, I have noticed that Wano lacks quite a few things that I can trade you. I can also offer hundreds of different types of weapons and defenses to help you fend off any invaders. I concluded. His eyebrow raised. These defenses of yours. Please elaborate. Swords can only work in close ranges. Wano lacks proper ranged weapons, excluding simple bow and arrows. I smiled and took out a few sheets of paper. This is a ballista. These are what we call miniguns. And this one is a tank. Mounted cannons that can be built all over Wano. These bad boys can reach tens of kilometers. The talks went on as we reached a decision. Wano will use the plentiful seastone they have to craft things for me. This includes weapons, ships, projectiles, cages, shields and some more. I will bring in some luxuries and give them manuals from the shop to build better defenses to protect their land from any invaders. Wano is built on a flat mountain, the high ground is their ally. I will use my fulcrum persona to deal with this and ensure everything checks out when the time is right. However, seastone crafting is time-consuming and will take a while to get started, so the trade will properly commence in a few years. This will also cement the relationship between me and the samurai. Later on. So, you intend to leave soon, child? Ryzen, my Ryu tutor asked. I looked at his wrinkly face and nodded, yes. Toki and I will leave for Udon tomorrow morning and then go to Kibi. After a few days, we will leave. Wano. The geezer nodded. I only knew you for a month and a half, but you have blossomed so much. I am proud to have taught you the little that I did. I just smiled. Sensei, I'll open these borders soon enough. Just don't die before then. He grinned. You brat, I am still quite young. Hyagoro, I don't know how much time will pass, but I'm sure that Wano will be safe with your help. The blazing blue-haired man nodded. Damien Dono, I hope to fight by your side one day. We traded a few words as I left. Odin had called me out to the wasteland far away from the capital for something. Well, I knew he would be impatient, so I'll teach him a lesson. Gun Madoki. Odin crossed his swords and charged forward, slicing everything in his path as his Ryu enhanced neared me. I was annoyed by his useless attempts. Clang. My hockey-clad fist of advanced mastery clashed with the stubborn fool as his attack was rendered useless and he was shot back forth. I came here to say goodbye and you attack me, again. I sighed. The rubble cleared. Wahahaha. This is a farewell, but I want to see just how far away I am from you right now. He declared as he wiped the blood from his mouth. Kazuki Odin. Age, 20. Height, 12 feet 6. Devil fruit. None. Fruit rating. Hockey. Observation hockey, low basic mastery, armament hockey, low advanced mastery, conqueror's hockey, dormant stage. Strength. Mid-tier Yonko commander. Fu. He exhaled a deep breath as I saw him enter a concentrated phase. FWMMMM. Both his arms glistened with a black coat as they reached all the way to his swords. The katana's patterns were further beautified under the hardening. Odin then injected a thick bubble of Ryu as his body glowed red. Take my strongest attack, he roared out as his entire body erupted with a huge amount of energy, channeling all the reserves he had at his level as the ground crumbled away in his wake. Boom! Odin leapt into the air as his swords brought down a crimson dawn, a final attack of great proportions. He suddenly resembled a shooting star as he rushed forth at me, gliding and chipping through the air. I saw the attack. This attack is rather powerful. Odin was currently using an attack enough to wound a high-tier Yonko commander. I grinned as I saw him raging towards me. Very well, Odin. I will disdain you no longer. I raised one hand and extended out to the side. Vwoo. The wind was ripped apart as my Yushi was retrieved out from my inventory. Odin's sword skills suddenly burst into a higher level as I could hear the screeching of the blades. They were furious at the constant defeat. Paradise Tatsuka. This is what he used to injure Kaido. I exclaimed as I recalled the attack. I raised my weapon into the air as its mighty blades shined a devastating red as it boiled with my touch as the fruit powers rushed out. A red coat of bubbling Ryu was added as the 10-foot-long Yushi was held in the air with both my hands. Boom. The ground was ripped apart as I leapt from my position into the air as I raised the weapon above my shoulder, ready to execute a diagonal arc, cutting the atmosphere in the process. Elysium descent. My Ryuzi exploded in cataclysmic power as the terrain was ravaged by the raging tornadoes that were generated from this attack. Odin's cross attack smashed directly upon the tip of my blade. Boom. An explosion loud enough to wake up all of the flower capital resounded as our attack persisted. The clouds were shaking and the nearby land masses were reduced to their simplest physical forms. Odin groaned as his swords were instantly thrown out of his hold as my attack raged on and met him dead on his chest, nailing it with my hockey. I saw him vomit out a great amount of blood as he bore the brunt of my attack, his body being destroyed from within as he was launched out. Just like how he attacked, he became a shooting star as he was sent into the sky hundreds of meters as he took on the trajectory of a wide parabola. Boom. I felt a loud rumble of the ground as I saw a distant mountain crack apart as Odin was nailed into its core, digging his way through, making a tunnel that reaches at least 80 meters deep. That was like a third of my full power. I guess I overdid it, eh? I thought as I used zoom to see his condition. I observed around 103 broken bones, ripped muscles and torn tendons. Let's not forget the gallons of blood leaking out. He'll be fine. I waved it off. The guy tanked an earthquake to the face. He'll make it out alive from this. Though his chest ought to have a deep scar from that hit. That aside, Odin's attack level jumped 2 sub-levels from that ability, quite scary indeed. No wonder he was able to cut Kaido and leave his only scar. I mean, not even Whitebeard or Shanks left a scar on him, so it is a huge feat indeed. Walking back to the capital, I was quite satisfied with my gains in Wano and overall from my little vacation. Sybil, bring up my stats. It's been like 21 chapters since I've seen it. I commanded. Roger. Ina D. Damien. Age, 16 years, 7 months. Height, 10 feet 1. Status, extremely healthy. Bloodline, Fishman-human hybrid. Physique, black bones. Strength, peak of low-tier Yonko. Devil fruit, pulverize fruit, high advanced mastery. Sea stone resistance, immune. Skills, hockey down arrow. Observation hockey mastery, mid-advanced to high advanced. Armament hockey mastery, low advanced to mid-advanced. Conqueror's hockey mastery, mid-advanced to high advanced level. Points balance, 58,631 SP. Less than quests available to be claimed greater than. So all my hockey masteries went up in the past 20 days by a decent margin, not bad. My strength is currently at the very peak of low-tier Yonko, with just a little push to level up. Later that night, I was in bed with Toki nuzzling in my embrace. She had a constant smile blooming every time she was with me. Damien-san, she whispered as she looked at me with her big green eyes. She looked to the side a bit then back towards me. Have you thought about Aurora-san? I raised an eyebrow as I remembered the purple-haired girl. I nodded in deep thought. She loves you very much. You shouldn't keep her waiting so long, Toki whispered into my ear. I stared into her eyes and asked, don't you feel anything as I think of another girl? Toki tilted her head and giggled. Damien-san, I come from a powerful family of daimyos that existed centuries ago. It was practically a tradition to marry multiple women. If anything, it would be odd if you didn't have other lovers. She explained. I was a bit stumped by her open-mindedness. I squeezed her nose. Then why did you seem jealous when I first introduced her to you? Toki puffed out her cheeks and glared at me. That was only because you hadn't claimed me that time and I felt endangered by her presence as I thought that I would be forgotten. She teared up a bit. You hinted that we may part ways after Wano, so I couldn't help but feel sad. I saw her hurt expression as I pressed my hand to her warm cheek and gave her a deep kiss. Well, since I have already accepted you, then you will be with me forever. I then smiled. As for Aurora, I'll talk to her the next time I see her. Toki just smiled and laid back down and buried her head into my chest as I stroked her hair. She drifted asleep as her mind was clear of all thoughts as I heard a notification. Ding. Your crew template has been updated. Unnamed crew. Core index down arrow. 1. Ina D. Damien Captain. 2. Kuzan Lookout. 3. Amethyst Aurora Assassin. 4. Amatsuki Toki Cook Doctor. 5. Vacant. 6. Vacant. 7. Vacant. Associate Index. Subordinate Index. Toki has been studying human anatomy from a few books I bought from the shop and had greatly improved in her study. Her fruit mastery had greatly increased as it could selectively heal large, gaping wounds to regenerate the smallest of blood vessels. The only thing missing was pure gold to counteract the aging problem. Nodding at the list, I think of the other positions. The open slots in my mind for the positions would be 1. Combatant. 2. Vice Captain, First Mate. 3. Head of Intelligence. Mahawk would for sure take the first slot. I will ask him about it soon, as with the buffs of a core member, he can greatly improve at a faster pace. As for number 2, I need someone who can lead in my absence or my laziness. Someone who can hold together a powerful network of powerhouses, someone reliable. I have some thoughts about the person, but it is a work in progress. The third one, well, let's just say having to hear reports from hundreds of birds and sea kings and sorting it out is rather annoying, so I do want someone to take that position. Of course, they will need to be capable of fighting off armies and not just sit back and relax. There are no passive members under my banner. I am close to the medium range. Aurora and Mahawk are close range. Kuzan is versatile. Toki is special. Her time powers can do so much that I can't really scale her ability just yet. All my members can reach the Yonko level. The world will shake soon enough. Author's Corner. Wano has made seastone bullets, and so Damien has set up that trade as only the Wano craftsman seems to be able to do so. Odin jumped some stages with that attack but was Bellamy'd into a terrible state, much like Kaido and Luffy first duel. He will return to Mortem Island next chapter, sort out some side things and finally return to the new world as Zebek nears his re-emergence. Chapter 84. Third Pav. Damien and Toki had spent a few days in Udon and Kiri as a date. Just enjoying one another's company as they grew closer, and Toki, bolder. And finally having bid farewell to the land of samurai, they head back to Mortem Island. The seas have not been calm either. A huge change has been made and has been officially accepted as a newly implemented fact. There has been an addition to the supreme grade weapons. The Seijo o Wazamano are now made up of 13 peerless blades. The only thing remaining is to discover the wielder of the weapon and who was able to craft it. Fulcrum has also been upping his name. He has recently introduced a new medicine that has been making a storm of its own. Many older nobles and royals and even celestial dragons have become dogs seeking it. The medicine is called sildenafil, also known as Viagra. 12 days later. Damien POV. Wano wrapped up. I take out a fruit dial in which I had saved Aurora's night fruit in order to use the shadow travel instead of sailing to Wano all over again. Mortem Island. Rar. Chirp. Coo tilde. Ribbit. AWOOOOO. Roar. Meow. Kuzan and Mihawk were standing around my clone as they were surrounded by all types of animals that were roaring in a frenzy. Vwoo. An eerie wind blows as the clone's shadow starts to bubble in liquid night energy as our two bodies emerge from it. I smell the mellow wind and feel the change of New World weather to Paradise weather. Ni-san. Damien-san. The two looked at me and my clone. It had been 2-ish months since I left. Naturally, there was a change. Oh tilde, you're so tall now. Urara, and almost as handsome as me. Kuzan said as he nodded. Mihawk just stood there with a sword at his hip. Toki then emerged and took my hand. Kuzan was baffled by her height. Toki Nichan, you grew a lot taller. Toki giggled and patted the two boys' heads. Damien-san has been making me eat those powerful sea kings and my body kept growing. She explained. Now come here, you two. She said as she pulled them into a hug. My clone was connected to me so I never felt away from them, but Toki hadn't seen them since then, plus, she sees them as her own younger brothers. Mihawk seemed reserved as well as Kuzan was like a kid reuniting with his sister. Mihawk then looked at me. Ni-san, a few weeks ago, I felt something very odd, he said with difficulty and explained what he felt. I nodded. That was not only you, plus I'm sure you know what really happened from the news. I said as I ruffled his jet black hair. His piercing yellow eyes studied my expression with some excitement. Is it true? Is there a 13th blade? Kuzan was also interested as he looked over. I extended my left hand out before my chest. Vwoo. A howling wind erupted as the air was compressed and destroyed as the ground beneath began to shake. He's a little shy around strangers, so he tends to release his might whenever the chance comes, I explained. The two instantly popped their eyes as they felt the pressure radiating off my weapon. I scratched my chin. It's not a cursed blade but indeed a lot more repulsive than Yuru. Mihawk gulped as he nodded. He tried to touch the blade. Ouch. His fingers were cut as blood dripped down. Open your ears, Mihawk, I told him as he nodded. I feel another's presence from you. Yushi's voice boomed in Mihawk in my ears. Fee. The blade calmed down as I traced my finger off its blade. Calm down, he is an ally. I guess Yuru's presence is what he sensed, and being a new addition to the series, naturally, he feels a bit defensive. Kuzan had shining eyes. Oh, how cool, Damien-san. Few days later. Kuzan turned 9 years of age around 2 weeks ago. Toki celebrated it as soon as we arrived. His height has naturally increased, around 5 feet 8 now. Mihawk was now 3 years and 7 months old and stood at around 4 feet 4. He has been eating my personal Leviathan Class Sea King meal program and has been taking in some monstrous nutrients. He should grow to around 9 feet. I look at one of the boys before me and ask. Tell me, Mihawk, what is your plan? You wish to be the greatest swordsman, yes, but how will you get there? I ask the little kid. His eyes blinked for a few seconds as he thought it over. Ni-san, my father told me to follow my heart and it will take me to the height I seek. He paused. I want to fight alongside you till I can duel you evenly. He was trying to sound serious, but at a tender age of less than 4, well, it was quite cute. I nodded. Good, no one but the strongest swordsman is worthy of standing beside me. The boy seemed content and he nodded with a small smile. I grinned. From now on, I will intensify your training to the level of hell. Don't die. I ruffled his hair. I saw him take a gulp and he nodded furiously. Ding. Your crew template has been updated. Dash. Unnamed crew. Core index down arrow. 1. Ina D. Damien Captain. 2. Kuzan Lookout. 3. Amethyst Aurora Assassin. 4. Amitsuki Toki Doctor, Cook. 5. Dracule Mahawk Combatant. 6. Vacant. 7. Vacant. Dash. Associate Index. Dash. Subordinate Index. Dash. I was satisfied by his role. Dracule Mahawk has been granted the core member's blessings. I looked at him and saw him blink his eyes. Mahawk seemed to have felt it. After all, his talent in everything had just doubled. I smiled. I hope you can wield Yuru soon. The boy was still bewildered as he felt his body rush with energy as he smiled. Mahawk then ran away as it seemed like he wanted to train. Dash. I then turned my attention to the other kid. Kuzan was giving me a sly grin and he walked up close. Nudge nudge. He poked me with his elbow. Nay, Damien-san, Toki Nichan seems happier than normal. He was chuckling in between. Did you know? I glared at the 9-year-old as he grinned like an idiot. Bonk. Asterisk. Ow ow. He grabbed his head as he rolled around in pain. You're too young to know about that stuff. I saw him click his tongue. If you are so violent with little kids, then I want to see how you treat your future children. He stood up and went under a tree to take a nap. Well, another nap. Though his words did keep me thinking, kids huh? I shook my head. It wasn't time for such luxuries. I know Toki wants children, but perhaps after I can properly protect them. Dash. 1 month later. Fooljack Peaks. 3rd POV. A month had passed. Currently, a meeting of the 4 directors is being held in the News World Agency headquarters. Chad Bizarre, Newman Bradley, Vaisal Linne, Marcus Goji, the 4 heads of the agency were discussing something rather important. For the past few months, the above 4 men were constantly having a thought at the back of their mind, telling them what they were doing was wrong. Their guilt has been building up from a small stream to a creek to a lake and now a full-blown ocean. The only dam holding it back was the hesitation of how the other directors would say about it. Naturally, neither of them knew that the others were in the same situation thanks to a certain black and red-haired youth. Dash. Slam. Bizarre's large hand smashed on the round table as his words echoed through the room. I don't know why, but I think it's time we stop the lies and the fabrications. He exclaimed. The man was unsure of how his words will be received, but he said them anyway. It was an unexpected response. They all nodded. Indeed, my youthful vigor as a reporter has been churning for a while now. It is time the world knows what truly happens, Bradley agreed. Yes. So many years and so many lies. I cannot stand it anymore. Linne yelled out. Goji nodded. Very well, my fellow brothers in news, I will now propose the World News Agency Withdrawal Act to exit the world government's grasp. The burning heat of a reporter was blazing in his heart, one shared between the other directors present. Usually we need to wait for Cypherpol to overlook our proposals, but this is outside of their claim. We will now initiate a vote for the Withdrawal Act. Bradley said. I agree. I agree. I agree. I agree. Bizarre smiled. Very well. We have reached a unanimous decision to leave the hands of the government. No longer shall we spread lies and deceit. The men nodded with enthusiasm as they felt their own heart and ambition work in unison to their decided result. But an issue was raised. We mustn't be short-sighted. The CP-10 will not allow this to happen. We must be swift about it, Goji said with some hesitation. Creak. Yet the door suddenly opened as someone walked in. It's you. The brat who interrupted our meeting nearly 11 months ago. Bizarre claimed. He then beamed a smile. You are also the one who said you wished to free our agency. And it was true. The person who walked in was the youth who wanted the agency to exit the WG and was kicked out for it, but now, he was received in joy. Why yes. My name is Jeff, the boy said with happiness. Jeff, is it? Very good. Since you share our thoughts. Then perhaps you can help us out of our predicament. Linne offered. Jeff nodded with slight hesitation and shock. Don't be afraid, young man. We have passed the withdrawal act, but Cipher Pol will act the moment the word goes out. Goji nodded in agreement. The Gorosei will not allow it. Jeff nodded alongside them but then offered a thought. Why not spread the news all over the world first, that way they will not be able to contain it within these barren mountains. His words brought renewed light into the director's eyes. Very good. This way, we should be able to gain the support of the people and cause the government to halt in hesitation. This will give us enough time to fully leave this island. Goji laughed. Bradley then spoke up. I have always readied emergency evacuation ships along the shore, we can leave immediately. What of CP-10? They have eyes everywhere except within these walls, Linne asked. The room was laced in seastone and thick walls, you cannot spy inside. Jeff shook his head. Don't worry, directors. There is a powerful snowstorm forecasted to hit these mountains very soon, we can leave then. The men nodded in satisfaction. Slam. Bradley's palm slammed the table as the idea was finalized. Now we just need a reporter who can send out the words of the withdrawal in a well-written summary before we leave, Goji muttered. Bizarre scratched his chin and recalled something and offered. What about that child who has recently been exploding in view ratings? Bradley raised an eyebrow. Right, he is born and bred on Nea and his name has recently been quite popular in the outer seas and paradise. I hear he has an absolute chain of information. Linne agreed. Right, he rose from an apprentice reporter to an executive reporter very quickly. I say he has the ability to even become a director. Goji nodded. His name, I believe it was, Morgans. Jeff, who was sitting by the side, was grinning on the inside as he heard the words go back and forth through the discussion. He then resumed his normal stutter. Director Sama. Did you say Morgans? You know him, Jeff? The young man nodded furiously. Why yes. We interned together. I can get him anything without any eyes peeping in. The directors all seemed relieved. Very well, Jeff, please share our thoughts and have the news ready to be sent out everywhere. The withdrawal shall occur in exactly 2 days. Author's Corner. After that month-long time skip, it has been nearly 11 months since Damien started his plans with the news agency. It's nearing fruition. Chapter 85. 2 days later. Upon a ginormous ship in the New World sat a single woman, peering into the horizon. She was smoking away on a cigar as she hummed a song. Sigh, perhaps it's time to retire, she thought out loud as she heard a clutter of noise approaching. Shaki-sama. We just received news from paradise. The one reporting was a small girl around 6 foot tall, around 25 to 28 years of age. Amber. What is it? Shaki asked. Amber was Shaki's right-hand gal when it came to her news channel. Shaki had eyes and ears everywhere around the globe, with almost instant delivery of news. Shaki unfurled a newspaper. Shaki-sama, this is from our spy in the news base in Nea, that young reporter you told me to watch, he just sent this to be printed in millions of copies. It will be published in a matter of hours. Amber exclaimed. Shaki read over the contents. Yar, how could this even happen? The Black Death of the Rocks pirates was left utterly shocked. The astonishment was due to be sent out to practically anyone to everyone, and it detailed a single point. News World Agency directors pass the withdrawal ACT-2. Exit from the world government into fully autonomous. Reported by Executive Reporter, Morgans. As so it did. Only 3 hours after reaching the hands of Shikuyaku, the papers were sent out via tens of thousands of seagulls as the words were spread across the globe. From the outer seas to paradise and even to the New World, as the bigger powers were left gobsmacked. Marineford, Fleet Admiral's office. What? It was a loud roar of a beast as the voice thundered over the largest marine base in the world. The Fleet Admiral was pissed off. How could this happen? Kong smashed his table with his fists as it was reduced to dust. What are those fools at Cipher Pol doing? Another voice called out. Admiral Basara, who was also present at Marineford, also seems to share the Fleet Admiral's reaction. Click click. Raging fingers bashed upon the dial of the Den Den Mushi as Kong called someone. Puru. Kacha tilde. Speak, Fleet Admiral Kong. The voice asked out. Kong shifted in his seat and resumed with a neutral voice, I believe you know what I am asking for, Xerxes. Quote. There was a silent pause as the voice responded. We have received the news as well. I do not know how this could have happened but have alerted CP-10. Kong shook his head and questioned, "You're the head of Cipher Pol, how could you allow this to happen?" "Do not grow impatient with me, Kong, you and I are not so dissimilar in power. Nor am I your subordinate." Xerxes responded with indifference. Kong waited. "What?" Xerxes yelled out. Boom. There was a huge echoing explosion over the transponder snail on the other side of the line. "What happened, Xerxes?" Kong asked with unease. "Kong, I want you to send forces to Fulljack Peaks, now. It is a matter of great importance." The voice yelled out. Kong was shocked. The man he was speaking to was not one who would show his anger but usually act with indifference. Kong asked in a solemn voice, "What is it?" CP-10 is not responding and all CP-10's chief's Vivre card has burned out. Something is afoot, Xerxes responded. CP-10, one of the 3 secret forces of the world government, was under attack. That seemed to be an absurd thought. After all, they were a rather powerful unit. Kong set down the snail. "Basara, go." The admiral nodded as he set off to Fulljack Peaks, though it would be a miracle to reach there on time. After all, the destination was almost 2 days away through the calm belt. Fulljack Peaks. A day ago, a raging snowstorm had descended upon the island and buried it under a copious amount of snow, nearly 50 feet high. All agents had to retreat to the base as the snow rained down. During this period of little surveillance, the news agency workers evacuated the base. Naturally, there were spies but somehow they were killed in the chaos, leaving CP-10 blinded. The snow fell for 18 hours, more than enough time for the 4 directors and their employees to leave to a safe and undisclosed location. A few hours ago, the news about the withdrawal had just been received worldwide and naturally, to CP-10 as well. The 10th agency's chief, Optio Quartz, was left stumped. And immediately he raced out to the news agency HQ with his forces. "How did this happen?" he roared out as he saw the empty base. "Lock down the entire region of C, they have to be NEA." Quartz's orders froze as he felt something. His observation spiked. Splat. He thought as he looked to the side and saw one of his executives burst into a fountain of red, his severed head rolling on the ground. Ow. Blah. The chief turned to the side and saw 15 bodies. Ow. Ah. He then heard even more cries from afar as corpses laid bare around him. Quartz himself was a high-tier Yonko commander-level powerhouse and he had another 4 men near his level with another 55 lower-ranked workers. Yet somehow, 47 were already dead. "Show yourself," Quartz roared as he saw his men fall dead. Step step step. Soft footsteps echoed as Quartz saw the person. He had an average face with brown hair, only 6 feet in height, a midget compared to the 9-foot-tall CP-10 chief. They were confused by the person as they didn't feel anything from the young man before them. "Oh, I forgot to remove this disguise," the man muttered. Jeff, aka Damien's clone, had been hiding in this mountain for nearly a year. Though his strength was the same as when Damien had split himself, his observation had exploded in mastery. Naturally, no one here could see through his disguise. Persona release. Seimei Kiken reversion. The crunching of bones and cracking of limbs resounded the bloody halls as the man changed appearance. "You are." The black and red-haired youth smirked. "This clone's progress has yet to be absorbed by the main body and 11 months of training is rather large," he thought in his head. A battle raged on as Cipher Pol 10 was eventually annihilated. 2 days later, Admiral Basara arrived and he immediately used his mountain fruit to completely change Fulljack Peaks into a wide and level plain as there were absolutely no more mountains left. An entire island was terraformed by the wave of a hand. Therein, saving nearly weeks of investigation, the only thing found were the dead bodies of Cipher Pol, a failed mission. Room of Authority, Marijoy. The Gorosei were angry. "The World News Agency has officially left our grasp. They used the free media law to legally exit the world government," the blonde elder summarized. Shing. Asterisk. A sharp blade was unsheathed from its scabbard as it cleanly cut the air within a room. The sword elder spoke up. "Just a month ago it was the birth of a supreme blade, and now this." Their anger radiated the entire castle, all but one room. "The words have been sent to major kingdoms of the Reverie. Those 4 fools even called for favors with stronger voices. the king of Dressrosa, the ruler of Alabasta, the monarch of Bastion, the supreme lord of Latveria, and even the council elders of Nea have reached out in support of the decision. The long-bearded elder grunted. This is the worst outcome. The seas grow turbulent and the skies tremble in disbalance. The scarred elder protested. The sword elder sheathed his sword and nodded. We have legally lost the ability to mold the news, but we can always make a new one. The blonde elder nodded in agreement. Indeed, but that may upset the reverie attendants. I suggest we wait to see how the news agency does on its own and try to find a puppet to overtake it. Agreed. With the Rocks pirates in the New World, we cannot shift our focus to such matters. Let CP9 take over and plant spies. If it doesn't work out, then we will simply purge them. Narrator POV. The World News Agency has called in many favors to help them gain autonomy. All the while the darker forces hiding in the shadows are also at work. The Underworld Emperors, under the request of Fulcrum, the King of Shipping, have sent out their forces to ensure the exit of the agency. The Gorosei have decided to let it play out. CP9 will attempt to infiltrate the agency but will fail due to Damien's birds monitoring anyone and everyone. Once their failure reaches the elders, they will instead see if the new agency works with or against the balance of the world. And if it is the former, then they will choose to make deals with the heads and accept the autonomy the directors crave, as they did in canon. With Morgans being promoted for his work, it won't be long for the agency to switch directors. After all, the current 4 are quite old. Allowing Morgans to inevitably gain the key to the public's ears. And ultimately to the man standing behind him. Mortem Island. Damien POV. Ding. Operation Nexus has been updated. Find the World News Agency main base checkmark. Find replacement president checkmark. Bring the replacement under your control checkmark. Have the agency exit the world government's grasp checkmark. Time limit 1486. Operation Nexus has been completed. Congratulations. I smiled in satisfaction as the sweet words were delivered to my ears. The news agency has become autonomous and will soon start telling the hidden tales. Of course, I cannot be too biased with my words, lest I piss off the elders and they will then try and purge my efforts. Instead, I will be quite objective. After all, the main plan is to first share the story of the Rocks pirates. This way, not only will it never be forgotten in the river of time, but my name will also grow. This may seem inconsequential now, but it will greatly aid me when it comes to my other world-level quests in the far future. That aside, a month had passed and some things had happened. For one, I had yet to reunite with Aurora. There were a few little hiccups in the underworld as Escanor seemed to be up to something, pressuring my assets along the way. Fulcrum and Talon were busy with those movements. A big event was being planned by the last remaining overlord of the sea. Furthermore, I also intend to reunite with my clone soon once he has fully stabilized the news agency. And this is the clone that was training observation hockey for almost a year. Once I merge back with him, I will gain a huge amount of experience. My observation allows me to look around 8 seconds in the future. It is high advanced mastery currently. This brings me to wonder. Sybil, what happens once I go beyond the advanced stage of observation hockey? I asked. After all, there isn't said to be anything after future sight, so what exactly lies beyond it? The stage after advanced mastery is naturally grand mastery. She began. At advanced mastery you can perceive the future. Once you reach the grand mastery stage, you can perceive far more, abstract things. I cannot say much as every grand master receives different abilities depending on themselves. She concluded. I was a bit lost on the meaning behind her words but nodded nonetheless. Future sight is quite useful and any other such ability is always welcome to my collection. It was almost night time as I had put the 2 kids to sleep after an arduous workout. It was surprising to see that they were still alive up till now. After all, my training schedule for them is slightly over the top. A sweet voice then entered my ears. Damien-san, are you coming to bed? Toki had wrapped her slender arms around my neck as I was seated near the edge of the island. She leaned her head on me as she closed her eyes, feeling the gentle and cool wind. I grabbed her hands with mine. I'll be there soon. The girl then gave me a small smile. You seem quite happy after you read that newspaper. Did something good happen? I picked off the hands coiled around my neck and spun through the air as I appeared behind the girl, shocking her in the process. Indeed, and I feel like sharing that joy with you. I then swiped my hands under her legs as I swept her up into a princess carry. Ah, Damien-san, we did it for nearly 16 hours straight just a day ago. Toki protested as he weakly punched my chest with a red face. She continued a useless struggle as I willed the trees around me to form a small house and continued our little, nightly adventures. Author's Corner. So, the agency is free. For now, Damien wants to ensure that the Rocks pirates are not forgotten, plus it's quite handy to have the power of the news in your hands. Chapter 86. 1 month later. Another month had passed. It was only a month till the year 1485. It's been almost a year since I went on my vacation and I intend to return soon. Over the past month, I had continued to train in armament as I neared the Grand Mastery level while also upgrading my Fruit Mastery as I was a step closer to awakening. What else happened? The World News Agency was officially renamed to World Economy Newspaper. The 4 directors have been campaigning to further open the truth to the world as new papers were sent out, elaborating on the past. They were detailing the parts left out by request of the government as some truth started to surface. It was mostly about disasters, deaths and other problems that were hidden by the government, the political side of the world. This month, however, was to be devoted to piracy. The main goals were to elaborate on the 3 overlords and their fates, the other stronger crew like the Roger Pirates and the Valkyrie Pirates. And lastly, the big news portion, the Rocks Pirates. Soon, detailed yet unbiased, points that were either hidden or removed will be shared. It was objective writing, for now. The Gorosei did not intervene either, though CP9 continued their search, only to find nothing. The past aside, another big thing happened. The Overlord Escanor has been making huge amounts of movements all over the New World. His forces have been looting and attacking everything in their way. The underworld was barraged with warfare as the prideful ruler was not at all discreet with his actions, demanding huge amounts of gold, goods, food and other things. Fulcrum, who was quite annoyed by the chaotic tides, had worked with the government and the other underworld emperors to slow Escanor's advances. And it worked. The seas calmed down as a piece of news was learnt. Something big was soon to occur and Escanor was at its center. Aurora-san is returning today? Toki asked as we sat for breakfast. The boys were listening from the other side of the room. I nodded. I no longer need her to carry out her work at the moment. I thought it was time to give her a little break. Toki smiled. Yes, I'm sure she will be excited to reunite with you once again. Mihawk was eating with one hand while the other was slashing down a kitchen knife, trying to use some sword attack. Kuzan had mastered the art of sleep and eat. Later on. Sit Mihawk, I'll tell you more about the path of the sword, I said as I patted the bench before me. The chibi swordsman nodded as he hurriedly sat down. I had learned many things in Wano, the path of swords was one of them. There are 7 stages for a swordsman. I started as the boy listened attentively. 1. The breathing stage. I have already shown you how to properly use your breath to maximize your output. I gave him a breathing manual that I used years back and he had learned it by now. Then it is the cutting stone stage. Simply put, the ability to cut a normal boulder with a clean slice and no difficulty. This is followed by the cutting steel stage. Being able to cut all simple metals easily. The 4th one is the throwing sword stage. You subconsciously used this back at Yozora Island when you threw an attack at me. I said as I smiled at him. These then lead to the coating stage, and the cutting diamond stage. And lastly the black blade stage. I said. You don't need to know much about them as they are quite far away from you. He nodded in agreement. You are in the cutting stone stage right now, not too far from cutting steel. I will leave this island soon to resume my adventures. I hope you will continue to train diligently, Mihawk. I said as I ruffled his hair. He squinted his eyes in deep thought. I'll put thrice as much effort. Poke. I tapped his forehead with 2 fingers as I chuckled. Good kid, but don't push yourself too hard, alright? What do I say about training? He replied immediately. As long as you are breathing by the end of the workout, you can always do another set. I nodded with a smirk as I sent him off to train. You can map out the stages I made by Zoro's progress. P.S. Mahawk can easily beat Jozu. Dash. Bonk. Asterisk. Ow ow. Kuzan yelled out as he squatted on the ground with some tears. How many times did I tell you not to sleep inside a sea king's mouth? I scolded him. He seemed remorseful. I picked him up by the back of his neck and flashed away. You mastered Soru and Geppo. Your body is being trained constantly. Your fruit is the only thing that remains. I said as I read him like a book. He complained with an annoyed voice. I tried to freeze the lake but the water current is too fast to freeze. I was so tired that I ended up sleeping where I stood, and it turned out to be in a sea king's mouth. I rolled my eyes at the ice boy. It's because you are too caught up with range and not depth. It matters little if you freeze only the top 5 meters for 5 kilometers out. It is far better to freeze 25 meters down and only 500 meters out. Kuzan was lazy and so he gave up fast and chose to take a nap instead. His mastery over his powers was increasing slowly and I could only do so much. I am not a Logia after all. Dash. Toki was flourishing though. Usually, an ultimate class fruit is far harder to train. And it was, until just recently. After she officially joined my crew, her talent doubled and her task output exploded, allowing her to greatly increase her prowess. Dash. On the edge of Mortem Island. I stood by the edge with Toki and the boys around me as we saw a herd of sea kings swim towards us. A single shadow in the far horizon. I saw her face briefly as it suddenly turned into a purple mist. In just a quarter of a second, the purple mist was already in front of me as it raced forth. And now I had a purple-haired girl in my arms as she buried her face in my chest. Toki just beamed a small smile. I rubbed her back while patting her head as I heard a low whisper, I missed you, Damien. Dash. After Aurora went on to greet the boys, only the 3 of us remained. Aurora was about to speak as she saw Toki hold my hand while giving her a grin. A cheeky girl, I thought as I saw her tease the former princess. Aurora squinted her eyes as they darted back and forth from Toki to me. And then to my face. Damien, she muttered as I saw and seemed quite shocked. I sighed at her expression. Her face had matured since I last saw her and now it was being ruined by her thoughts. Flick. I flicked her forehead with my finger. Ouch. She grunted as she looked at me with a wronged expression. Don't make that face, let us talk elsewhere. Dash. We moved to a more fitting place under the shadow of a large tree. Aurora was a bit fidgety while Toki had gone with the boys elsewhere, just 2 of us remained. So, you accepted Toki? She asked with a pause. I nodded. Indeed, she is mine now. Aurora's mind was working 100 times faster as she seemed to be lost in thought. I moved forwards as I felt a bit perplexed on how to continue so I gently patted her head and wrapped her waist. I haven't forgotten about what you said 6 months ago, which is why I asked you to return. She looked up with her purple gems for eyes. I decided to accept Toki after spending many months with her. As for you, I first trained you to be a weapon for me, but after your words at Amethyst Kingdom, I was hesitant to move forwards. After what happened in my past, I decided to forsake all forms of endearment, but now things have changed. My words seemed to wake her up from her melancholy. She did say that she saw me as her final light and somehow thought the worst. I will always protect you as I am your captain, but if you are willing then it can be something more. However, I will not leave Toki, no matter what. I told her. I see Toki as my lover while Aurora, currently, is not that dear to me. I saw her as a weapon before, now I hope to see her as a person. Aurora's eyes seemed to blink in confusion as she processed my words. She then seemed to smile widely as she buried herself once more in my embrace. I will be happy as long as I can stand on your side. I just thought you would leave me alone afterwards, so I felt heartsick. She had grown pessimistic over her life after seeking vengeance for half a decade, before meeting me. Even after her revenge was done, she still was plagued by loneliness, added to being away from me for 6 months as Talon, she became quite gloomy. I sighed at her jumping to conclusions as I stroked her silky hair. I am your captain, so naturally you will always be at my side. She just nodded, enjoying being petted. She then looked up with shyness. About what you said before. I raised an eyebrow and grinned. What did I say before? About being something more. Her words grew quieter and quieter with every passing second. I smiled at her nervous face. I won't say that I love you like I do Toki, but I am fond of your presence. She just gave me a huge smile as her amethyst eyes teared up with joy. That is enough for now. She grinned and muttered to herself, Toki is a nice girl and I am happy for her, but I will not let her stay in the lead. I shook my head in amusement as she schemed something. If anything, I was glad that the two had no problems with each other. Toxic relationships are not my cup of tea. She then turned to me, can I spend some time with you? I thought for a second, I have to get something from somewhere, you can come with me then. We will be gone for a little while. She nodded with a small smile as her eyes glowed with joy. Where are we going? She asked in curiosity. I hummed, to the sky island of Skypia. Later on. Aurora-san, it's nice to see you again. Toki smiled as she hugged the princess. You grew so tall, Toki. The two girls went on their little chatting frenzy while I thought over some things. The ore that holds the soul of its master, to protect them from the great curse that is death. Seek it. The answer lies in the ore of gods, in where the islands fly and the humans grow wings, where the rain forms and where the gods reside. These were the words I heard. It seemed to be detailing Skypia, not necessarily the part broken from Jaya, but an island at least 800 years old, dating back to the time the poneglyphs were made. I will probably find something there. Few hours later. I had left the boys in Toki's care. My clones were still busy. The Fool Jack clone will arrive by the time I return. Fulcrum is busy with underworld business while I sent a new clone to help him in Aurora's absence. We were in the Sea Skimmer, heading to the Calm Belt to make our way to Mock Town. 4 days later. We were due to arrive soon. Aurora was asleep as she leaned on my shoulder. I heard her gentle breaths. Every few seconds. Amethyst Aurora. Age, 18 years, 4 months. Height, 9 feet 9. Devil Fruit. Night Fruit, Low Advanced Mastery, Special Logia. Fruit Rating, 6.5 stars. Hockey. Peak Intermediate for O, Mid Intermediate for A, and Low Intermediate for C. Strength. Mid-tier Yonko Commander. She was very close to awakening future sight. She had an inborn talent for observation, and with the supreme blessings, her talent only increased. She had been training with great commitment with Fulcrum. She had spent 8 hours training, 7 hours assassinating and killing and 8 hours sleeping. She reigned in a great amount of experience as her masteries went up along her fruit to reach mid-tier Yonko Commander. A while later. We eventually reached the area near Mock Town. This is where the knock upstream would explode 5 times a month. Of course, I could wait a few days as it happened every 6 days, but I am not known to be patient. I took out a fruit dial. Bling. Asterisk. The boat suddenly shifted around as it floated up and into the sky. We reached the fossilized layer of clouds. Wow. How calming. Aurora commented as she saw the white sea of clouds. I nodded as the view had a soothing effect. Heaven's Gate. It was a large star-shaped gate that sat in the middle of the sea of white. A huge column of clouds was behind it, leading to the city far above. A middle-aged woman sat by the gate. Hello, my name is Amazon, welcome to Skypia. It was the same woman the Strafuts will meet, just a lot younger. I nodded. You must pay. I cut her words. Open the door. And so she did. Skypia. The people who reside here have small wings on their backs, though they don't seem to do much. The daily life of Sky people revolves around the use of dials, which normally are not available in the Blue Sea. As opposed to the belly of the rest of the world, it uses extols as currency. Aurora and I walked through the city and spent a few days exploring. We went to Angel Beach, trying out Skypian delicacies and buying some unique items at Lovely Street. It was a fun place. Aurora was quite ecstatic as she was enraptured by the beauty of this island. The people were quite excited seeing our Blue Sea features and were quite kind. It was Gonfal's rule before Enel came about and tyrannized the populace. Speaking of Gonfal, we did go to meet him. A humble wooden home surrounded by much flora, including an oversized tree and a vegetable garden to raise his beloved pumpkins in. His house. Gonfal had yet to meet Roger, and so he was rather surprised by our arrival. Welcome, visitors from the Blue Sea. Gonfal, also known as the god of Skypia, was a slender old man with long facial hair and a simple cloak. He did not have wings but seemed quite humble. We shared some tales as he grew less wary of us, with Aurora seeming quite excited about the history of this island. Gone Fall San, I came to this land for a few things that I hope you can help me with, I said. What is it? I was led here by something known as a ponehipai, have you heard of it? It is the ore that holds the soul of its master, to protect them from the great curse that is death. I asked him. His eyes widened as he stared at me with shock. Damien-kun, there was something passed down from god to god. The first Skypia god found something here nearly 400 years ago. It was an odd stone that was placed in an altar that existed even before Skypia. A separate island by the side. The altar was destroyed over the centuries of war, but we kept the stone safe. He explained. He went to his little shack and brought it with him. The first god said that it was special and that we should keep it safe. It was said that one day a seeker of truth would ask for it and that we shall give it to them. He showed me the stone. A yellow stone that glowed a warm sensation. Ore of gods. The original version of pure gold. It can halt the age of anyone that wears it on their person. I see. It made sense. Pure gold was made only a century and a bit ago, so how could this be that exact item? Sybil, will this work? I asked. You can bind an item to your soul using an item soul binding token, which can be bought for 1000 SP. However, this small piece is only enough for one person. She said flatly. I nodded. I need pure gold and this is the key. All the pure gold was eaten by a Titan-class sea king, a ginormous anglerfish a long time ago. It can be found in the body of the fish, stored safely. However, this sea king hates to surface and prefers the deep ocean, making it impossible to find. The only way to get to it is to bait it. What is it attracted to? Pure gold. In other words, I can use this little gem here to bait it out and gain the huge amounts of pure gold stored within this beast. After all, this stone works the same way the treasured gold works. The key to eternity was in my hands, I simply needed to unlock the door. Author's Corner. So, I won't devote much time to Aurora as she has already given her heart to him and confessed. It's just Damien waiting to know her better, which he has over this trip. I am also speeding through Skypia as I found it boring and it would be redundant if you have watched One Piece. Chapter 87. Gone Fall had given me the ore of gods as we left his estate. Aurora and I spent another few days exploring the upper yard, the hidden cloud village and the rest of Skypia. I also grew to learn more about the girl. She was quite bubbly inside, once you removed the super assassin part. She had the same eyes as Toki but was so different. Toki was passionate and open with her love. She was the perfect housewife. Aurora liked to show her affection through more open actions. She did as she was told with a smile and never questioned me. She was happy to simply be around me and was willing to fully commit to that. They were both different, but that is what made them special. We spent around 2 weeks here and I got a few cool things. 1. The Ore of Gods. 2. The Great Grade Sword, Junketsu. 3. Money, money and money. Skypia has a giant golden bell that they didn't seem to find valuable. Their ideas about wealth were opposite to ours. Where we found gold to be treasure, they found it to be cheap as dirt. They actually found literal dirt and soil to be incredible. It was known as birth here. Since they are in the sky, naturally, they had little to no soil. I simply made a beautiful trade in which I got a mind-boggling amount of gold for a large amount of dirt. If that isn't a great deal, then I don't know what is. Ding. Asterisk. You have successfully exchanged the Shandorian Golden Belfry Bell for 100 billion berries. I used my balance fruit to immediately convert it for a huge amount of cash. It reminded me of a scene from a movie I watched in my previous life. What are your superpowers again? I'm rich. / Well, Fulcrum needed money and, well, I got quite a bit of it. 4. Poneglyph. Naturally, the stone that the Strafuts will find and even Roger will find was here. The Poneglyph. I knew what it said but listened to it nonetheless. Supremacy of the Sea. One of the 3 ancient weapons with the power to shift the balance of the world. It sleeps within the soul of the one who can mold the sea. Seek it, seek the great power of Poseidon in the land submerged in the sea, where the fish become men and the mermaid sings, it rests. There. Poseidon is eternal. I nodded at its words. This detailed the location of one of the 3 ancient weapons, Poseidon, though useless information for me. All this aside, there was a fifth treasure I found. Devil fruits. Dash. Zone. Human fruit. Ancient model, the first man. Dash. Paramesha. Ugly fruit. Allows the user to become very ugly. Dash. Logia. Rumble fruit. Allows the user to create, control, and transform into lightning at will. Dash. The zone gave the ancient model of the first man. In other words, it would essentially take the user's body to the absolute peak of a human. A superhuman, if you will. The Logia, Guro no Mi, aka the Rumble fruit. Nico Robin called it the invincible devil fruit. A great find, though expected. After all, Enel would have eaten it here as he did in canon many decades later. Dash. We left Skypia. Did you enjoy it? I asked the girl who was leaning on my shoulder with her eyes closed. She hummed, I loved it. I nodded with a small smile. Good, we're going to a place you've been to before next. She looked at me with interest, her eyes gesturing for me to elaborate. We're going to Fishman Island. Dash. Fishman Island. 6 days later. Under Neptune's rule, the Isle of Fishmen was flourishing. No humans were allowed in as slavery was almost null. All but pirates are trying to sneak in and kidnap some mermaids. I didn't announce my arrival yet as I made my way to the sea forest. Why return here? Aurora questioned as we stood before 2 giant stones. They were the Apology Stone and a red one. The road poneglyph is a piece of 4 red stones. When put together, they will lead to the final island that will eventually be named Lawtail. One of the 4 keys to becoming Pirate King. Why, you ask? Listen here, Aurora, this red stone is probably worth more than the outer seas combined. I told her. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Worth more than the outer seas combined. Are you sure? She reiterated. I nodded and grinned at her. Yes, so tell me, Aurora, what do you think I should do with it? She didn't hesitate. Take it with you, of course. I nodded. Big Mom. Kaido. Both of these future tyrants had a road poneglyph in their grasp. This, apart from their absurd strength, was one of the reasons they were considered the emperors of the seas. As for Shanks and Whitebeard, the latter cared little for the final island, so he let it be. Shanks, he would have seen them when he was with Roger. If not that, he could just ask Rayleigh and he would tell him. This road poneglyph was left by Joyboy's apology till it was lost by 1499. No one knew where it went or what happened to it, so why not just take it now? Plus, it may lead to a rather interesting encounter in the future. VWOOOOO. The ground shook as the entire red cube was slowly sucked away from its position and into my inventory. Just like that, I now hold a huge amount of power. Dash. Ryugu Palace. Ho ho ho, Damien-kun, you should have told me you were visiting Jammin. Neptune laughed heartily. I returned the greeting. Neptune-san, you seem as cheery as always. He nodded. This is Aurora, my companion and crewmate. I introduced the girl. Ellipsis. We went on with some small talk and onto the juicy bits. You wish for me to deliver a message, Jammin? Neptune asked. I smirked. That is correct. A man will come to you asking about that red stone in the sea forest. Tell him to come and find me. Neptune was a bit unsure of the reasoning behind my actions, but he nodded. I am sure you will be a great ally to the fishmen in the future. Very well, I will pass your message. He then laughed. Ho ho ho, you must be tired. Do rest here, I'm sure. You'll be welcome here, Jammin. Ellipsis. Aurora and I spent another 4 days here. The people were quite friendly. My ancient voice greatly increased my charm to other intelligent species, making them feel comfortable in my presence. Any non-humans would instantly feel joyful around me. It was quite fun spending time with some luxuries and amazing sweets. Dash. We bid farewell to the fishmen and the mermaid alongside the king. Let's go back, Aurora. I nudged the girl. She nodded. And we set sail back to Mortem Island. Dash. Mortem Island. 2 days later. You returned. Toki was in my arms as I played with her hair while she nuzzled in my chest. Aurora seemed a bit jealous, but she was content with our adventure alone as she treasured the memory. Dash. Oh, Skypia. Kuzan yelled out as he heard my story. Mahawk was also quite interested while Toki had shining eyes. I nodded and went on with the story. Fishman Island too. Kuzan tapped his chin. He then raised an eyebrow. Did you meet any mermaids with big bazongas? Flick. Asterisk. Toki flicked his forehead with some haki as he groaned. Children shouldn't speak such words. Toki scolded him. She was practically his older sister and mother at the same time. Nighttime. Toki was lying by my side. Did you and Aurora get closer? She asked. I hummed, she is a nice girl, very loving like you. I smiled. She then climbed onto my chest and laid her head upon my heart. Then why do you hesitate? She whispered. I thought for a second while Toki went on to say, you don't need to worry about me, as long as you love us equally then I don't mind her. Toki then looked up and initiated a deep kiss which I responded to with equal vigor. You are correct. I shouldn't keep her waiting too long. Next morning. Guess who's back? The clone. The business with the news has concluded as they have begun to become fully autonomous, some bribes here and there but 100 times better than before. It was a bit weird to look at him though after all this is how I looked approximately 12 months ago. Not even 10 foot tall, a midget. Plus, my face has matured quite a bit now, the ladies are dropping like flies. Merge. A light erupts as the two of us walk towards each other, becoming one once more. Ding. Asterisk. Your observation haki mastery has been upgraded to peak advanced level. Congratulations. Your future sight can now span 10 seconds into the beyond. Ding. Asterisk. Your observation haki has reached the final step before the Grand Mastery stage. Congratulations. Note that the Grand Mastery stage can also be broken down to LMH and peak. I feel it. I see it all. My range went from around 2.6 kilometers in every direction to 4 kilometers. I can now span my sixth sense to nearly 8 kilometers in diameter. Sybil, I'm still a bit surprised I didn't go to the next stage from all that training. I said in my head. The Grand Mastery stage is not so easy to reach. Conqueror's haki is unique and relies on other factors but observation and armament follow a certain rule. She went on, reaching Grand Mastery for these two colors of haki is as difficult as awakening an exceptional class devil fruit. I nodded, a bit dissatisfied, but accepted it nonetheless. Loud yawn. I turn my head to the side as I see Kuzan walking towards me. I concentrate on my hearing on the puffy-haired kid. I need more sleep. Damien Sand should be more considerate. Che, what a tyrant. Bonk. Asterisk. OW. I saw him roll around while wailing in pain. What was that for? I scoffed. Who are you calling a tyrant? Should I ramp up your training? His eyes widened. No. You can't. I'll die. Quote. He made a sudden pause. Wait, I never said that out loud, he muttered to himself. Everyone was gathered now. Toki, Aurora, Kuzan and Mahak. What are we standing on this cliff for? Kuzan asked. I took out the ore of gods as it shined a warm yellow. The boys were curious about what I was going to do. Thump. I placed it onto the ground and waited. Kuzan deadpanned while Mahak tilted his chibi head. Toki was puzzled as well. You woke me up from my dream with 5 Nichans to see you show me a damn rock. Kuzan was annoyed. Toki was not amused. Kuzan-kun, you are too young for such things. Her eyes were squinted upon the youth as they emanated a powerful aura. Toki Nichan, have mercy. Boom. His words were interrupted, however. Splash. Asterisk. A huge tsunami wave poured onto our position as the entire cliff was doused in water. What the hell cough, what the heck was that? Kuzan yelled out, the air freezing around him. Mahak had taken out his chibi sword as he stood ready. Aurora was in her night form as purple mist exuded out of her body while Toki was covered with green rings of time. It was a huge shadow that eclipsed the entire nearby region. I have never seen such a large sea king, Mahak commented as he squinted his piercing eyes. I nodded, it's here. Aurora was confused, were you summoning this beast? I grinned, of course. This one here is our ticket to supremacy. It has dark red skin, red and white fins, and very sharp teeth. Its most prominent feature is a giant Eska attached to an elysium on its head that glows very brightly. The size was utterly massive, at least 10 kilometers wide. This right here is a Titan-class Sea King, Bonbori the super lamp anglerfish. Author's Corner. Bonbori is out. Yes, I know he resides in the New World as the emission from the ore of gods is even more powerful than normal pure gold, baiting it immediately. Chapter 88. Someone asked in Discord to clarify, the first human fruit, there are a few main points. Brings every human quality to the absolute peak, stamina, endurance, strength, etc. Increased talent in all human concepts, includes fighting talent, spirit, hockey talent, etc. Dash. This right here is a Titan class sea king, Bonbori the super lamp anglerfish. We eye the humongous beast that was at least 10 kilometers wide. Sugoi. Kuzan mutters. What a frightening creature. Toki comments. Aurora had a flash of understanding, that or, is it attracted to it? I nod with a little smile. Good observation, this ore is what it seeks as it emits the same energy as what can be found inside this sea king's stomachs. What is it, Ni-san? Mahak questioned. I looked at the boy. That, kid, is the key to eternal life. I then walked forwards to the edge of the cliff, leaving behind my gobsmacked crewmates. Eternal life. Kuzan yelled out. So I can sleep forever. He thought inwardly. Bonbori's eyes were glued to the tiny ore that was shining yellow as it slowly neared it. Split, X1. Poof. A clone popped beside me. He looked at me and nodded. Boom. The ground shook as the clone of 80% of my power launched out from the cliff and into the air. Raawr. The Sea King roared in impatience as its ginormous maw was opened wide, revealing countless sharp teeth, sharp enough to cut through metal like butter. Dash. Bonbori. Species. Superlamp anglerfish sea king. Description. A Titan-class sea king that dwells in the deepest of seas. 8 pure gold roughly 160 years ago, making it effectively eternal. Has the strength to destroy islands with limited difficulty. Age. 200 plus. Size. 10,982 meters. Strength. Peak of top-tier Yonko commander. Dash. The clone pressed forth into Bonbori's mouth as he was swallowed in. The clone will visit the lost island of alchemy and see what he can find. Dash. The anglerfish was impatient, however. All of you, I want you to make sure the Sea King doesn't retreat into the ocean, I said casually as I left them on the edge, the ore of gods in my hands to ensure Bonbori remained here until the clone returned. They simply nodded. Soru. Kuzan disappeared from his position as he reappeared just a meter above the sea below as his body slightly touched the water. Ice Age. Creaking ice. All the water near the ice boy started to shake as it was quickly frozen into light blue solid. A solid yet thin layer of ice surrounded the area and covered around 15 kilometers in diameter, trapping the Sea King. Roar. Bonbori yelled out as it felt slightly restricted. He growled towards Kuzan as another voice resounded. Time bow. Toki stood tall as a large green bow shining with archaic symbols appeared in her hands. Her right hand grabbed the string as it was pulled back as 9 arrows materialized. Voosh 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 asterisk. Each arrow shot out with great speed, leaving behind a gray trail as the air and the atmosphere around it was aged into the void. Raawr. Large, gray blotches of wounds appeared all over the giant beast as the thick skin started to collapse and rot away. Bonbori was in pain and it suddenly broke out of its ice container, raising its 2 gargantuan fins into the air. Boom. The enormous fins smashed down upon the iced floor as it started to crack and break away, great amounts of wind shooting out in the process. Ice ball. Kuzan crossed his wrists together as a light blue stream of bursting ice shot out towards the eyes of the beast. Raw. The anglerfish wailed in misery as its eyes were frozen shut while another shadow appeared around it. Aurora had turned into her element as I saw her dance through the raging winds as she neared the top of the Sea King. Thud. She landed gracefully upon its gigantic back. It was larger than Mortem Island. Aurora brought together both hands, a 6-inch gap between her palms as they faced each other. A small, purple flower started to bloom as it glowed a soft amethyst color, a beautiful sight. There were 9 petals at the start as more and more grew out, totaling 27. Dusk Lotus. Aurora's gentle voice filled the region as the flower slowly floated down from her palms and onto Bonbori's back. It was touching. BOOOOOOOOOOOM. RAAAAAAAAAAAWR. The supermassive Sea King let out an island-shaking roar as it growled into pain, its back bursting with enough energy to easily level a large hill. The top fin was also being vaporized, sending down great amounts of pain to the fish. Aurora was back in her Logia state as she floated in the air, yet underestimated the beast's response. Bonbori's eyes had healed as it gazed upon its attack. The wisdom of a Titan-class Sea King was not to be taken lightly. Voo. The air imploded on itself as the giant lamp of the fish swung around, building energy. Bonbori was swinging it like an elephant's trunk. Voo. The lamp was at least a couple of kilometers wide as it caused the air to whistle in sharp frequencies, all the while Bonbori brought it down with endless momentum towards the floating girl. FWWWWM. The entire Eska was then coated in shiny black armor. Armament hockey. Aurora was surprised. Aurora was about to retreat. After all, her Logia form would be disrupted by this attack. Clockworks. Chronostasis. Tick-tock. The ticking of a clock was heard as an ancient clockwork appeared behind Toki as it suddenly started to glow brightly. The raging attack that was large enough to eclipse Aurora suddenly stopped. A green sphere materialized around the entire lamp as a ring, filled with ancient patterns circled it, effectively making it freeze. Toki recently reached the peak of the intermediate fruit mastery stage in which she could slow things down. How does this work? Time flows at a ratio of 1.0 of time to space. Toki can control time on the positive side of the spectrum. She can now change time to less than 1.0 but larger than 0, therein, slowing it down. Bonbori's fins were hurt while its lamp slowed down significantly, leaving it open for attack. The three did not miss it. Endless eras, Arc of Time, Ice Block, Pheasant Beak, Void Nebula. Toki unsheathed her sword from her hip as its blade shined in the evening sun. She imbued it with hockey and time energy as it started to glow green, withering the air around it. She then slashed diagonally as a giant arc made of pure time energy raced out. Kuzan released a massive wave of ice in the shape of a pheasant that spanned around 40 meters as it screeched out, raging towards the Sea King. A curtain of purple opened around Aurora as it dawned a violet light over the island, raining down a huge amount of energy upon the beast. Boom. An explosion large enough to send tsunamis out went off as a bright light covered the horizon, basking the nearby lands with enough heat to melt metal. Field of Kings. I was sitting on a chair as my domain erupted out of my body, covering the entire island as it counteracted the energy, otherwise the island would be doomed by such a ginormous Sea King. While Bonbori was stunned from the earlier combo attack of the trio, a small shadow flashed out of its mouth. Thud. It was my clone. He landed by the crew as he was holding onto two people. A large, blonde man and a little girl with a glowing orb in his hand. Olga, I'm so glad that you're alive. The man yelled out as tears flooded from his sockets. The girl seemed shook as well. Is it true? Did you make pure gold to save me all this time? The man raced out as he embraced the crying child. I'm sorry, Olga. I nodded at their little reunion as I slowly walked ahead. Rest of you, stand back now, I said as they ran to a safer position. Visum. The air started to shudder and howl as my Yushi was comfortably sitting in my grasp. Hee, a Sea King the size of 10 islands, show me your strength, Yushi. I declared as my weapon started to shake uncontrollably, impatiently waiting to be used. Bonbori has recovered. RAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAA from the anglerfish's cry. Dash dash dash. Is she trying to fight Bonbori-sama? He's crazy. I heard Olga yell from far away. Arid tilde Damien-san will be fine, child, Toki said. I smiled slightly at their little conversation. Vwoo. I used the evolved version of Geppo as I started to float in the air, popping the air so fast as it seemed like I was flying. I was now flying around 600 meters in the sky as Bonbori's furious eyes gazed with pure anger. I felt some inquisitive gazes. I guess none of them have actually seen my true power. Dash. Vwoo. The air reacted as large tornadoes swirled out from my grip as I started to fuel my Yushi with a boatload of pulverizing energy. The two clawed blades were glowing a blinding crimson as shockwaves were sent out in their wake. A scarlet hue radiated out of my body as bubbling red energy coating my weapon, Ryu Haki in its purest form. RAAAAAAWWWR. The massive lamp on Bonbori's head started to glow a bright white light as I felt it gather some type of energy. I guess Titan-class Sea Kings have their own powers, eh? I thought. Raw WR. A ground-shaking roar erupted the entire sea as a thick and powerful blast of energy was sent out from the lamp of the anglerfish. It was around 3 kilometers in size as it completely dwarfed me. Bonbori's attack had around 8 mountains of power behind it. Boom. Yushi exploded with energy as I began my attack. My body was mixing advanced hockey, slivers of conquerors, my fruit power and my full strength without going in my Empyrean release. Crimson Comet. My body burst out in a red trail as I shot forth with incredible momentum, cutting through the air as the clouds above were shredded into particles. The air was exploded as constant sonic booms went off from my ridiculous speed. It was truly a comet. BOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOO the horizon, seemingly, a second sun. The lands below were covered in crimson energy as they saw the crimson comet burst through the white light raging towards the Sea King and finally meeting it head-on. Boom! A secondary explosion went off as a 300-meter-tall tsunami was generated around the affected area. Amazing! Kuzan's jaw hit the ground. Toki and Aurora's eyes were widened as they smiled with pride. Olga was beyond shook as her mouth was wide enough to fit a large rock while her father was equally as surprised. Thud! I landed onto the cliff as an utterly devastated Sea King of 10 islands width crashed down, copious amounts of blood bursting into the sea, dyeing it red. I grinned, anyone up for some fish? 3 hours later. Damn, Titan-class Sea Kings are delicious. It was unfortunate that I couldn't tame Bonbori, so I just killed it as it would only hound us for eternity as it would be attracted to the pure gold. As for the two guests, they were Myskina Asir and his daughter, Myskina Olga. Bonbori had 3 stomachs with islands inside of them. The two were separated into different stomachs. My clone found the man and eventually his lab with the pure gold. Asir was too depressed to actually do much, so I gave him a choice. Work for me and I'll save your daughter, either that or rot on this island till the end of time. He thought his daughter had long fallen, yet hearing my words, he accepted swiftly. Both father and daughter had pure gold with them, so they had not aged. Asir was middle-aged while Olga was only 6. Except the former had become quite fat while the girl was still a brat. Asir, I hope you keep up the end of your bargain, I told the fat man before me. He nodded. Of course, since my daughter is safe with me, I will do as you ask. I smiled. Myskina Asir is a genius on par with Vegapunk. He was able to make metal with the ability to make one naturally immortal. His services are quite useful. Later on, I had tasked Kuzan and Mahak with the help of my clone to make a laboratory for scientists. I was busy with something else. Pure gold. Flawed metal. Description: a simpler and impure version of the ore of gods. Capable of halting the age of anyone near it and is only effective for up to 250 years. Even a small piece is enough to be effective. I wasn't really surprised. After all, a metal that can make you immortal made in a desperate attempt to save one's daughter may work for a few centuries, but nothing lasts forever. Not unless you have an all-powerful system on your side. Sybil, use an item refiner. I commanded. Sure. Ding. Asterisk. Your pure gold has been refined to its absolute potential. Pure gold has become eternal ore. Eternal ore. Description: has 2 separate stages. Passive stage: will undo any time-altering powers upon the user until the body has reached prime age. Active stage: will become constant once the user reaches full body maturity. Prime age in One Piece is like 40 plus, but this is prime as in the human body, so around 25. I nodded at the new description as I used another ability. A purple light flashed around the item. Equal exchange menu. X equals Y. A large chunk of pure gold has been entered for the value of X. Generating equal exchanges. X can be separated into 10 pieces, 2 cm wide. Anything less than 2 cm wide will no longer work. Do it, I allowed the trade. VOOOSH. The bright golden ore in my hands shook a little as it started to shine. A few seconds passed as 10 smaller nuggets were left in my hand. Ding. Asterisk. Warning. You have created an ore that is upsetting the balance of the world. Ding. Asterisk. Karmic backlash detected. Anti-nerfing protocol reinitiating. Backlash has been neutralized. Please rate our efficiency at www.authorishandsome.com. Well, I guess making some immortality stone would break the balance, but not for me. Sybil, buy me the soul binding tokens. I asked in my head. This way you can't lose the stone by mistake. Alright. Dash. Soul binding token. Description. Binds an object to one's soul. Cost. 1000 SP each. Dash. Well, it'll do. Dash. Asir and Olga went elsewhere while the rest gathered around me. Are those gems what you talked about? Kuzan asked as he saw the shining jewels in my hand. I nodded. These will keep you eternal and stop you from aging once your body fully matures for as long as you wish to use them, I said casually. They were naturally surprised while Toki's eyes widened. Damien-san, when you talked about reversing my time powers problem, she muttered. I smiled. Yes, as long as this is active your powers will no longer cause the age disbalancing problem. She nodded excitedly. Aurora seemed to be in deep thought while the boys were staring at the ore. I don't expect you to forever be eternal, but as long as you are in my crew, you must not be plagued by problems like aging. All right, I asked. After all, immortality is not always a gift but sometimes a curse. Good, open your hands, I directed them. FWOOOO. The air shook gently as 4 stones floated from my grasp and into their hands. They gently landed in their palms. Begin the binding, I ordered in my head. Don't fight it. They nodded as the ore shined bright. The jewel started to break apart into minute particles as it swirled around their bodies and flowed towards their wrists. Flash. A bright light flashed from their hands as a tattoo was left behind. It was a beautiful flower symbol that wrapped around their wrists. An amaranth, the never-fading flower, and a symbol of immortality. How do you feel? I asked as they seemed lost. Aurora nodded but remained quiet while Kuzan spoke up. I feel warm but weird. Are you sure you didn't get scammed? I slowly walked forwards and bonk. Asterisk. While Kuzan was rolling around in pain, I looked at the green-haired girl. Damien-san, my fruit, it feels different, Toki muttered. I raised an eyebrow as Sybil interjected. Damien, eternal ore seems to have a great affinity with Toki's time fruit and was used as a fruit evolution token. I was unsure of the meaning so I opened her fruit description. Dash. Time fruit Toki no mi. Paramesha fruit special type. Fruit rating. +1. Allows the user to manipulate time in the forward direction. Allows the user the ability to transport themselves or others into the future. The time jump can be specified. Cannot be used to send anyone to the past. The user can choose to negate the aging effect of the fruit powers upon a living creature (NEW). User becomes a fast-forwarding human. Dash. Single quote. Single quote. I went over the words. Wait, so she can choose to age things without aging them. The effect of forwarding occurs but there's no actual change, technically speaking. Whistle. I called out. Chirp. A bird descended, answering my call. Slash. I left a small, inch-long cut as some blood seeped out. I then turned my eyes to the green-haired girl and said. Try to heal it with your power. Toki nodded and walked up to me. She then directed both her palms towards the injured bird as a green light erupted with ancient runes. Shine. The bird's wound started to glow in a jade-colored light as the blood halted and dried away while the skin grew back, fully healed. Sybil. Yep, there was no aging at all. She answered. I looked at Toki who was smiling, I guess she could tell. I walked up to the girl and kissed her forehead as she smiled brightly. Toki then looked around and nodded. Kuzan-kun, Mahak-kun, let's go somewhere else. She grabbed both their hands and dragged them away. Aurora and I remained. You seemed like you're thinking in great depth, I said as I saw Aurora's lost face. She blinked and turned towards me. No. Aurora then darted her eyes to the ground. A rosy color flushing her cheeks gives a nice contrast between her amethyst eyes. I picked up on her thoughts as I felt the aura around her turn a bit pink from my upgraded observation. I gave her a teasing smile. What's wrong? Didn't you say you wanted to stay by my side forever? Are you going back on your words? This brought her out of whatever internal conflict she was in as her eyes shot towards me. No. I hummed at her cry as she seemed quite apologetic. I didn't mean to yell. I just patted her head while my other hand played with her silky hair while she rested her head on my chest. See, can we stay like this for a while? I heard her voice. I hummed in approval as I felt her heart calming down almost as if she was asleep. A few minutes passed as the sun had started to set, cool wind from the ocean breezed by us. Damien. Quote. She thought for a second. Do you remember what I said after everything at Amethyst Island? I removed my hand from her head as she looked up. She was already quite tall and reached to my nose. I made a thinking posture and gave her a teasing smirk, something about making me fall for you. Her cheeks flushed as she heard my rather blunt summary but nodded. She then looked up with a mix of nervousness, fear and hope. Did I make any progress? I stared into her deep violet eyes. I'll say the same thing to you as I did to Toki, once you are in my grasp, you will never escape. Her eyes brightened as they shined with renewed vigor. Her mouth widened to a beautiful smile, my heart is already yours. I see the glow in her eyes as her words flow out, each carrying great amounts of affection. I give her a small smile as her eyes turn slightly nervous under my glare. Her body seems to slowly retreat until I sneak my hand behind her back and pull her close once more. I then waved my hands as some pulses of command went out. Creak, craw. The woods around us start to mold and swirl around, taking shape as they start to materialize into a cozy cottage of sorts. The ground was laid with carpet from a few bears who volunteered their skin to be used as floors. Damien, are we going teeming? I cut her words as I pressed her lips with mine. Minutes pass as Aurora's eyes slowly shift from shock to yearning, all the while our kiss continues in the makeshift house. I rest my arms around her waist while her hand coils behind my head and pulls me further into our union of lips. Her breath slowly becomes heavy as her eyes cloud up with lust. She was bold with her words but shy with her actions, so I did what had to be done as my hands drifted towards the clips of her dress, untying it swiftly. The moon dawned down as the rest of the night was filled with passion. Author's Corner. The beginning half was like a Strafuts versus Ors, I guess, their progress against a large, powerful enemy. Damien one-shots the Titan class as to be expected, and yes, he cannot control it nor tame it. Toki can now slow down time as well as it was explained. So they have bonded with the ore and will be eternal once they reach 25, it can be removed if so desired. Chapter 89. This entire chapter can be skipped, no new information here. This is a lemon chapter. Chapter 90. 4 months later. 3rd POV. Time flowed like a river. Yet just like every river, there were times that the currents were calm and times when they were raging rapids. A lot has happened in the past 5 months and almost everything was covered by the World Economy newspaper. Executive reporter Morgan's has been printed pages non-stop. The major events are the following. 1. Over the past months, the New World pirates were further explored as one group was swirling in everybody's minds, Rock's Pirates. The entire history of each of their executives was detailed and spread all over the world. 2. An odd occurrence of Blood Sea was noticed near the Rizok Sea as huge amounts of blood were mixed in the sea near Mortem Island. It was thought to have been a massacre of sea kings. 3. Golden Lion Shiki dropped 3 islands upon G5 but retreated after Garp and Sengoku themselves responded. He has disappeared ever since. 4. Edward Newgate has been sighted in the New World. Sources claim he has been staying at Sphinx Island recently. 5. Charlotte Linlin overthrew a kingdom in the New World and has been living there since. Sources say it has been named Toto Land now. 6. Odd, pitch black clouds were spotted in the New World, raining down black liquids that corroded metal near the ever-spinning hurricane. 7. The Roger pirates continued their adventures, nearing the current known final island, Lodestar Island. 8. Fulcrum, the cardmaster, had recently been reported as well as his title of the King of Shipping, had fully stabilized. 9. The Valkyrie pirates had fully integrated into the Rocks Pirates' Grand Fleet and were spotted gathering at Hashinosu Island under the eyes of Black Death Shaki and Blinding Light, Silver Axe. There was a report about the thoughts of the public and the panic that was spreading all over as the higher-ups could feel the tension and the seas seemed to be churning as a warning. Some rather terrifying times were coming. Mortem Island. Damien POV. 5 months. Quite the time indeed. For one, my relationship with Toki and Aurora had grown a lot more. Both were now seeing each other as sisters, with no awkwardness whatsoever. Aurora also learned to use the night energy from the night itself to fuel her stamina to stand up against me in our nightly duels, whereas Toki relied on her time powers for the same reason. Strength-wise, they all had progressed quite a bit. Amethyst Aurora. Age: 18 years, 9 months. Height: 10 feet 4 after eating Titan Class Sea King. Devil Fruit. Night Fruit Special Logia. Fruit rating: 6.5 stars. Fruit Mastery, peak of low advanced mastery. Skills. Rokushiki Kami E, Shigen, Rankyaku, Soru, Geppo. Haki. Low advanced for O, peak intermediate for A, and low intermediate for C. Strength. Peak of mid-tier Yonko Commander. Amatsuki Toki. Age. 18 years. Height. 9 feet 6. Devil Fruit. Time Fruit, Special Paramesha. Fruit Rating. 7 stars. Fruit Mastery. Absolute Peak Intermediate Mastery. Skills. Rokushiki Kami E, Shigen, Soru, Geppo. Haki. Peak of mid-intermediate for O, low intermediate for A. Strength. Low-tier Yonko Commander Toki equals Brook in WCI Arc. Kuzan. Age. 9 years, 8 months. Height. 6 feet. Devil Fruit. Ice Fruit L. Fruit Rating. 6.5 stars. Fruit Mastery. Low Intermediate Mastery. Skills. Rokushiki, Soru, Geppo. Haki. Strength. Yonko Crew Pirate Kuzan greater than Enel from anime Skypia Arc. Dracule Mahawk. Age. 4 years, 3 months. Height. 4 feet 9. Devil Fruit. None. Skills. Rokushiki, Soru. Haki. Swordsmanship. Peak of Cutting Stone Stage. Strength. Negligible. Dash. Bonbori was 10 kilometers long. That is a lot of meat. And it's filled with nutrients, giving everyone a boost in height and height maxima. The one who made the most progress was Toki, though Kuzan and Aurora had greatly improved as well. Unfortunately, Toki has reached a bit of a bottleneck and is struggling to go to the advanced stage, thus the dilemma of an ultimate class fruit. Kuzan, that lazy pheasant, is actually quite impressive. He is almost as strong as I was at his age. If he wasn't so lazy, he could probably equal my progress in my younger years. Mahawk, well, he's still a child, so I don't expect him to be fighting right now, though he has progressed quite a lot. Dash. Rumble. I look up in the air and see some odd things. Clouds. That wasn't the weird part. It was what the clouds carried. A very small ounce of will was trapped in these clouds that were floating from the New World to Paradise Sea. Slivers of Conqueror's Haki. Damien, these small occurrences here will be far more noticeable in the New World. Most likely, Zebek is about to awaken any day now. Sybil cleared my confusion. I nodded. An ultimate class fruit awakening, eh? Since the fruit taps into major world-class laws, just how much havoc and chaos will it cause? Zebek will probably enter the later stages of Beyond Yonko instantly. I'm still quite far away, but I can take another step forward now. 2 weeks ago, I had finished some inconceivable workouts as I heard a sound. Ding. Asterisk. Many ability evolutions are available as your body has now reached its current physical peak. ///// And so it was time. Sybil, pull up my quest tab please. I ask in my head. Coming up. Quest log. Reach the Yonko stage. Rewards. Fruit liberation device completed. Reach low tier Yonko. Rewards. 20,000 SP completed. Reach advanced mastery over your Haki. Rewards. 10,000 SP completed. Reach advanced mastery over your fruit. Rewards. 10,000 SP completed. Hidden quest. Create a supreme grade weapon. Rewards. 15,000 SP. Yushi combat arts completed. Claim them all, I told my system. Ding. Asterisk. 5 quests complete. Rewards. 55,000 SP. Fruit liberation device Yushi combat arts. Your SP balance has been updated to 108,631 SP. Well, it's a decent amount. Fruit liberation device allows you to extract devil fruits from ability users within 15 minutes past their death. Yushi combat arts, the absolute combat technique developed by the system to fully understand and use your weapon to its absolute potential. I was satisfied with the new items. Sybil, show me the evolvable abilities. I then asked. Alright, she replied as a screen pulled up in my head. Flash recovery can be evolved to divine recovery for 25,000 SP. Final stage. Titan vitality can be evolved to divine vitality for 25,000 SP. Final stage. 6 superior arts can be evolved to 6 supreme arts for 5,000 SP each. Final stage. The eye can merge with zoom to generate the skill, Eye of Horus for 5000 SP. Eye of Horus can merge with Observation Haki to reach the Grand Mastery stage 25,000 SP. Dash. Holy shit. The final evolutions were predictable for the skills. But the Eye plus Zoom abilities make the Eye of Horus, which can actually combine with Observation Haki to reach Grand Mastery. My jaw had dropped as I pulled up the separate descriptions for each respective skill. Dash. Divine Recovery, all injuries heal nigh immediately. Limbs that have been cut off can be reconnected and regrown. Fatal injuries can easily be healed. The body can survive without a beating heart for a few hours. Overall cellular regeneration has gone beyond mortal bounds. Divine Vitality affects physical output and internal input. Brings all human qualities beyond their bounds and into the next stage. You are practically immortal in a physical sense. Star added effect. Your muscles, tendons, blood vessels, fats, organs, etc. are strong enough to imbue armament Haki to the point of turning into a black body. 6 Supreme Arts. Flash Step, Right Pointing Arrow, Blink, Night Teleportation over a small range of space. Shambles Speed -1, Titanium Body, Right Pointing Arrow, Ultimate Body, fend off all attacks a sublevel above you at the price of immobility. Superior Instincts, Right Pointing Arrow, Ultra Instincts, each muscle can think on its own against equal or weaker opponents. Air Gun, Right Pointing Arrow, Air Cannon, holds enough power to go through mountains. Moonrun, Right Pointing Arrow, Flight, gives the ability to fly at the price of some stamina. Tempest Arc, Right Pointing Arrow, Crescent Slash, a slash attack that can cut through the first layer of space. Dash Dash, Eye of Horus allows you to see any flaws in attack techniques for those weaker than you. Allows you to see microscopic details. Star This can be merged with Observation Haki to reach the Grandmastery stage. Dash. Single quote. Single quote. I was speechless. My black bones already increased my defense quite a lot. I'd say once I reach Black Body, I should also reach the peak of Armament Haki. And the Supreme Rokushiki will give me some crazy levels of boosts, though they will only be useful against equal or weaker opponents. If anything, I should be able to fight people one sublevel above me with them. Sybil, make all the trades except the Observation Haki one, that should be done on its own for added suspense. I gave the order. Very well. Ding. Asterisk. 8 abilities have been evolved and 2 have been merged to create a new one for 80,000 SP. Congratulations. Remaining balance, 28,631 SP. And then I felt it. My eyes widened. My muscles popped. My body felt thicker and far stronger. I grew another 3 inches as I felt my body change. My stamina had exploded and I felt like I could lift 10 mountains. What euphoria. I feel like I've been reborn. Even the ground below seemed to crack as I explored the change. Ding. Asterisk. Your strength has reached mid-tier Yonko. Congratulations. Good, very good. Increasing in the Yonko stage is so slow compared to the rest that each jump gives me a great edge. If I were to fight Big Mom now, I would probably be equal to her. After all, she would have improved over the past year and a bit. Sybil, go ahead with the final merging. I gave the green light. I suggest you sit down and meditate first as it will affect your mind in more ways than you'd think. She warned me. I didn't question her words as I sat down and attained inner peace. The nearby nature started to mold around me, singing and dancing in the mellow sun, swirling around me. Dead trees were reborn, withering grass became green as the clouds vanished from above. Inner peace. Commencing skill merging now. I heard a distant voice in my head. Ding. Asterisk. Eye of Horus has been merged with your understanding of Observation Haki for 25,000 SP. Remaining balance, 3,631 SP. Ding. Asterisk. Your Observation Haki has reached the Grand Mastery stage and has generated 2 skills. Congratulations. Your Precognition, through reincarnation, has generated 1 ultimate skill. Your Ancient Voice has generated 1 ultimate skill. You unlocked the ultimate skills Destiny Perception and Empathy. Do you wish to see their description? YN. I nodded. Dash. Ultimate skill Destiny Perception. Allows you to sense the vague fate of sentient and non-sentient objects. You can perceive the life, death and destiny of living beings in vague forms, excluding your influence. You can also sense the destiny of places, when they flourish, when they struggle, when they fall, etc. Ultimate skill, empathy. The power to fully interpret the emotions, moods, and temperaments of others. Can display emotions in separate colors that reflect the heart. Don't search them up as they aren't exactly like what is written on the wikis but mainly the above. Going over the two skills, I can't help but take a deep gulp. The destiny perception would allow me to sense how a living being would progress. Even the births and the deaths of what I seek. This may not help me in a combat sense, but it will surely be helpful when it comes to my world-level tasks of the future. Empathy will be quite useful in the long run as well. Apart from the skills, my sensing field also increased from 8 kilometers in diameter to 10 kilometers now. List my complete status page now. I asked. Here it is. D. Damien. Age. 17 years, 2.5 months. Height. 10 feet 7. Sea King meat doesn't affect him much as his metabolism is too high. Status. Beyond healthy. Bloodline. Fishman-human hybrid. Physique. Black bones. Strength. Early stages of mid-tier Yonko. Devil fruit. Pulverize fruit. Peak of high advanced mastery. Seastone resistance. Immune. Skills. Down arrow. Complete immunity max. Divine recovery max. Divine vitality max. Ancient voice 2. Destiny perception. Empathy. Persona max. Fruit sensor max. Concentrated breathing. Constant underwater maneuverability. 6. Supreme arts. Grand imagination. The D. God of war. Parallel thinking. Passive sleep mode. Hockey down arrow. Observation hockey mastery. High advanced right pointing arrow grandmastery. I. Armament hockey mastery. Mid-advanced right pointing arrow high advanced. Conqueror's hockey mastery. High advanced level right pointing arrow early stage of peak advanced level. Points balance. 3631 SP. Less than quests available to be claimed greater than. Not bad. Not bad at all. Later on. I'm now sitting in front of a little fox that was born recently. Destiny perceived. Flame-clawed fox. Birth. 39 days ago. Fate. Will mate with an ice-clawed fox in 12 years, giving birth to 3 children. Death. Killed 39 years from now by a falling meteor pulled down by a gravity fruit user. Well, it was certainly an interesting ability. I then used empathy. I saw many colors around the fox, each detailing an emotion. Reverence, fear, joy, hunger, confusion. Quite useful indeed. This is the Rocks era. I have major knowledge about the times beyond this era, so getting these abilities will greatly ease my situation. After all, this generation is 100x more vicious than Luffy's ever will be. A few days later, I received a note from a bird just this morning. You're leaving? Toki asked with clear disappointment. Aurora was also here. Both girls were holding tight, not letting go as they buried their faces in my chest. I just patted both of their heads and consoled them. We already talked about this, girls. Toki looked up with her emerald eyes. Can't we come with you? I kissed her forehead. No, you both have grown a lot stronger since before, but you are still too weak to accompany me. Heck, even I'm not strong enough against some of those monsters. I felt Aurora's emotions stir as some red colors exuded from her. She was angry, not at me but at herself. I gently pushed her head as she looked up with conflict. Damien, she muttered as I took her lips into a slow kiss. I know you are blaming yourself for not being able to fulfill your words in staying by my side, but it's not like I don't require your help. I went on, the underworld will shake, heck, the entire world will soon quake once that incident occurs. I shook my head. I will need your help to control those trembling seas so I can harvest as much as I can. She slowly nodded at my words as her aura shifted to a gentler one filled with persistence. I won't let you down. As for Toki, I asked her to look after the 2 kids and also to try and reach the advanced mastery stage of her fruit while upping her hockey as well. I looked at their determined faces and gave them both a deep and lengthy kiss lacking in lust and more to soothe their worries. Nay, Damien-san, when will you be back? Kuzan asked. All of them had gathered around me. I thought for a second, before the end of next year. God Valley occurred in 1486 and no date was given, so, at the latest, around December. I then smiled at them. However, I'll try to make a quick visit in a few months. I can teleport with my clones after all. This statement was enough to satisfy them. Toki and Aurora got over their original clinginess as they knew that this is something I needed to do. Kuzan was alright as he made up his mind to intensify his training to grow stronger faster, though with proper sleep. As for Mahawk, well, his toe was tapping on the ground while his face was the usual. Toe tapping from him is an obvious indicator of his mood. I patted his jet black hair. He was still less than half my height, so it was quite amusing to see his piercing yellow eyes look up at me. Mahawk, you aren't even 5 yet, so get rid of those thoughts. I want you to continue your training with your usual determination. I then gave him a smirk. Both I and Yuru wait to see just how far you can go. This brought a very small smile to the boy as he nodded his small head. Asir, work on what I asked you, I said out loud as a thin man walked towards me. Myskina Asir had developed a fat-rendering serum, which made him thin as he was in the past. His new look. Haha, don't worry, I'll have it complete before you return. He said, his eyes still filled with gratitude. I had officially accepted Asir as my lead scientist, so his talent had improved alongside other things. His brilliance will come to great use. I bid farewell. Splash. I took out my sea skimmer as the Sea Kings arrived to pull it forth. Toki and Aurora stood at the cliff with the boys as they waved me off. Take care, the green-haired girl yelled out while Aurora nodded with a big smile. Later on. The path is set. Furl. I then take out the note that had arrived and read the contents once more. All Rock's crew executives are to reunite once more at the request of the captain. You will find a vivre card in this letter to guide you to our rendezvous at Hashinosu Island in the New World. Be hasty, now. Shikuyaku. I couldn't help but chuckle as I nodded at the words. As of now, the tragedies and the titans are spread out around the world, each bringing about their own calamities. And now we've been called to gather. As if on cue, some odd things occur. Rumble. Thunder. Damien, I'm picking up signs of a major law awakening. Sybil's voice sounded in my ears. I gave out a low chuckle as the weather grew ever chaotic, raging tides, tempestuous currents and blazing winds. I look up to frightening skies as some of my hockey screams out, molding the clouds to a gentler form. My eyes shined crimson. The time has come. Author's Corner. So his abilities are fully evolved to their final form. His strength jumped and he's ready to return. If you like this video, please like, comment, share and most importantly subscribe. Also click on notification bell and set it on all.